All right, Sam, we are live. First of all, thanks for coming on. Thanks for taking the time to do the podcast. I appreciate it. You could just introduce yourself, man. Looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah, sure thing. Eric, it's a pleasure to be here. So my name is Sam Wardrop. 23 years old from Glasgow in Scotland, and I've played pretty much professional football since I was 15, 16. Some of the people listening might have heard the clubs: Celtic FC, Dundee United, Dumbarton. Right now I'm at Airdrie, so they're in the third division in Scotland.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's where I'm at right now. So that's a kind of brief history on me.
Awesome. What position do you play?
So I'm a right back defender.
Awesome. Good position, man. Yeah. So could you take us through your journey a little bit? You know, where you started youth football, and then kind of how you got through the ranks to where you're at now.
Yeah, sure thing. So all kind of started when I was around 12 years old. That's when I made the transition from just like local football with kind of people in your area to professional football club, which was Celtic FC. So I moved there when I was 12 years old. Stayed there for 8 years.
How'd you make that move to Celtic? How'd they discover you?
So basically, when you're out playing for your local teams, there's scouts that come out to watch. So the scout came out to watch. I then went on trial. So it wasn't instant, it wasn't smooth. So it was around 12 years old, go on trial. I think it was a 6-week trial, quite a while ago now, but I'm pretty sure it was around 6 weeks. And after the 6 weeks, they watch you in training, they watch you in a few games, and then obviously they said, "Listen, Sam, we want to sign you, we want to bring you on board to the club." And at the time, it was amazing because it's a massive club in Scotland and globally, to be honest. So I spent 8 years there, playing my way through the different age groups, and you have a bumpy ride. It's not plain sailing. It's not smooth, as you probably know yourself. Football is not smooth. It's a roller coaster.
Yeah.
And basically, I actually went in as a right midfielder, so like a kind of right winger.
Yes.
And they moved me back to centre back to defence. And now I've made the move out to right back. So I played there for 8 years, got my first professional contract. So in Scotland, the way it works, when you kind of hit 15, 16, so when you hit 16, you can sign a professional contract. So I signed that when I was 16, and that was for 2 or 3, I think it was 2 years. And you go full time. So you become a full-time footballer. So, you're training every morning, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You're training in the morning, you're getting your lunch, you're heading home, and then you play at the weekend. And then after the age of 20, I then moved to I didn't get a renewal in my contract, which happens as well for football players. It happens. Sometimes you move on, and it's just natural. It's just part of the process of being a footballer.
Absolutely.
Nothing lasts forever. Everything changes pretty fast.
For sure. How was your experience overall at Celtic? Just walking us through.
Yeah, it was. To be honest, I've only got good things to say. It was pretty amazing because it is such a big club.
Yes.
They've got a lot of money. They can really look after you. So we got amazing opportunities. We travelled Europe, we travelled the world playing competitions. But in terms of just bringing it back to kind of like foundational levels, like the training ground was amazing. They had beautiful grass pitches, AstroTurf pitches. They had a really good gym. They had your recovery stuff, and they had ice baths, normal baths. There would be there's a swimming pool as well, sauna, steam rooms, all the recovery stuff. Canteen, so you got your breakfast, your lunch there for you.
Wow.
So those are the facilities that are there for you to kind of experience and use, which is part of the learning process. Is becoming a footballer, you need to realise that, like from watching your stuff, you know all too well that it's not just one thing that makes you a football player. It's everything you do in your life, on and off the pitch.
Of course.
So the facilities were amazing. They really looked after you, which is why a lot of the players at the club do really well, because they get a really good education on how to look after the body. And in terms of coaches and stuff, so you had sports scientists for your gym, nutritionists for your diet, you had masseuses for recovery, physios for rehab, and then of course your football coaches as well.
No, it's awesome, man. And I think something that's missing maybe in some parts of the game is, like you said, that education to take care of the body. That's kind of why I got into the whole thing, that what I do is, like you said, I mean, you could be in the gym, you could be on the pitch, you could be active for 1 to 4 hours per day, depending on your training intensity and your overall load. But what really matters, as we both know, is what you're doing off the pitch the rest of the 22 hours, to make sure you cover, you come back, you recover properly. And we're on the pitch, we're in the gym to adapt. So it's also about what you're doing recovery wise to properly rebuild to be ready for the next session. So I think that's huge.
Absolutely. I think, to be honest, you probably spend more time recovering, trying to get your body right, through sleeping and eating and stretching, in the pool, hot, cold. Like, you probably spend more time recovery. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you, man. I mean, I think, in today's day and age, in the culture of Instagram and YouTube, which are fantastic platforms, podcasts, fantastic platforms, I think we got to try to, it's, as we both know, it's very hard to strike a balance between, work and recovery. But a lot of people they push the TNDO, take no days off mentality, which is good on one side. But as footballers, we also have to learn how to listen to our body and make the right judgments. We got guys like, David Goggins, all these guys that push through pain. But we gotta realize, no, they're not professional athletes. So you got to take everything with a grain of salt,
Yeah, exactly. I think in terms of having the mindset of, when you go out onto the pitch to train, when you go out on the pitch to play, when you're in the gym, like, give it your all, 100% intensity, leave nothing behind. But it doesn't. You can't live 24 hours, 7 days a week with that mindset. You need to relax. You need to switch off. Your body and your mind need to switch off.
For sure.
And I think, especially for young football players, they maybe think, because they see it from guys like, Goggins and maybe some other stuff on social media, they think they have to be working all the time.
Exactly.
But it's so important to rest, look after the body, and listen to it as well. I think from week to week, day to day, it's about self-regulating. If you wake up one day, and so maybe, for example, on a Monday, you have a plan for the week. You have a 7-day plan of what you're going to do. And then maybe on Wednesday, you feel a little bit more tired. You have to have the flexibility to adapt and come off it a little bit,
No, I love that, man. I love that. And I'm all about, like, planning, like having reverse engineering, having a macro goal, and then reverse engineering, by month, by week, by day. But just like you said, it's about listening to your body and adapting, because maybe the night before you didn't get proper sleep, or the day before you didn't eat something too well, which kind of, led to less recovery. And I think, like you said, being able, like, discipline is huge in putting in the work, but discipline is also big in listening to your body and not overdoing it. So, like, maybe pushing that intense day to the next day, and then treating today, if you're a little tired, as more of a recovery day. That's also part of discipline.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's really, really important for players to realize, because maybe even looking at, maybe your social media or my social media, or maybe an athlete's social media, they think that all they do is work, but you have to have that time to rest. And I noticed you're big on planning. I think it looks like you're planning out your days and your weeks. And I think for football, for players, or any kind of athlete, it's really important to have that plan. Maybe on a Sunday night or a Monday morning, you write down in your notes on your phone. It can be fast or on a notebook if you prefer to get it out on paper. Kind of a rough plan for your week. And as you said, work back the way. Maybe you have some goals, some longer term goals, and then break them down. What do you have to do that month? What do you have to do that week? What do you have to do that day? And then that keeps you consistent, systems,
Love that, man. Love that. No, I appreciate the kind words. And coming from a guy like you, signing at playing at Celtic, for 8 years, let's come back to that. When did you start playing football? And, did you always want to be a pro? When did you kind of start taking the development more seriously and planning to really reach those high levels? did you have systems in place? I mean, not at a younger age, but when did you start really trying to implement that?
Yeah. So I think when you're around 12, all you want to do, that really young age, 12, 13, 14, you just want to be a footballer. That's all you think about. And it probably, for me, it doesn't get serious until you start to close in on that age where you're going to sign the professional contract. But the one thing I would say that made the biggest difference for me and allowed me to kind of gain as much education and knowledge and put myself in the best position was just listening to the coaches that you have. Whether they be, and it's not just your football coach, it's any coach you work with. It could be gym coach, it could be nutrition coach, psychologist. Listen to what they're saying and take as much of it on board. And then listen, you don't have to do exactly what they're saying, but if you then take it on board, the bits that you think are really good, you can put your own little twist on it and implement it into your daily life and your training habits, that sort of thing. But it was probably around 16, 17 where because I was involved in a really kind of big academy, they did have a lot of things in place for you, which made it easier. They had all the gym stuff, all the nutrition stuff, everything was there for you. They were always helping you. But I think it comes to a point where maybe when you start to hit 17, 18, 19, you have to take more independence and do it yourself, because at that age as well, well, in the UK anyway, you can start to go out. You can go out drinking. I was going to ask
you this. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. You could. So at that age, it's probably things start to change,
Yeah.
And you see it. For me, looking back, you see some boys go one way, some boys go the other way. But there's also a possibility to have a good balance as well.
For sure. No, those are two great points. Like, after I asked you that question about planning, I always go back to it. Like, I think there's kind of, like you said, there's a certain age. I think 16 and 17, is a good age where you start to take it more seriously. Like, but I think it's also very important. I think people now see, like, even young kids, they see, guys like you, other pros on Instagram promoting proper planning, really obsession with the game. But I think a big thing also to find that balance is we want proper work, but we don't want guys and girls to burn out.
Yeah.
So I think being able to I think the most important thing is finding the love for the game, the why you play, because, I've gotten many messages, in the past, my parents want me to play, or, people play it for the wrong reason. So I think first and foremost, instead of going straight into structure, I think you need to find that love for the game. Go out, play small sided with your boys, kick it around your living room, as long as, you don't break stuff. I mean, we've all done it. But I think you got to find that love for the game. I think that's important instead of, straight away going into that structure. So
for sure.
What would your advice be for young kids who, are 11, 12 and they want to be a pro, and they see a lot of the structured training?
Yeah. So it's a really good point, and I'm similar. I get messages from players who are that age, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and at that they're maybe asking questions. What should I be doing in the gym? What should I be should I be doing these certain things? And at that age, until you're older, until you're 16, 17, 18, and it becomes maybe a profession, you just play for fun and play as much football as you can. Any opportunity. Don't worry about the gym. Don't worry about food so much. Food a little bit, obviously. You can't just have a really, really bad diet, but you want to play for fun. You want to go out with your mates. You don't want to have any restrictions on playing football. You want to play as much as you can, anywhere you can, and just enjoy it. But I think as well, even for parents as well, sometimes I get messages from parents of kids and say, listen, my son or my daughter is 12, 13, 14. What should they do to be a footballer? How often should they be? And I say, listen, don't put any pressure on them.
Yes.
Allow them to play football. Allow them to kind of choose what they want to do. Don't force them into, maybe doing training every single day with coaches, sending them to coaches every single day. Like, allow them to kind of have fun. Allow them the freedom to choose what they want to do. And I think as well, for young players in particular, like, if you want to be a footballer, like, you can be, but you can do other things as well. Some of the top players, one really good example is Rio Ferdinand. He did so many different sports when he was younger. Still played football, but did loads of other sports, and
Yes,
probably helped shape him into the player, the
for sure.
character he was.
Yeah. No, I love that, man. There's two things I hear in that. I mean, the first thing is, like you said, these kids, they got to find the intrinsic motivation. A little bit of extrinsic push is all right from the outside, from parents, from friends, social. But sometimes the best thing is you just drop your kid off and with a ball at the park and just let them explore.
Yeah.
And then the second thing, which I think is also big for any footballer, is I think especially when we start to pursue the contracts and the profession of football, we start to identify ourselves just as a footballer.
Yeah.
And I think as we both know, there's so many highs and lows emotionally in football. So I think it's very important to also find a side hustle, a side hobby on the side that you also love, that can take your mind off of your own development and whether you're helping others or whatever you like to do. Certain guys I have in mind are, I've heard Hector Bellerin talk about this a lot. I've heard Matteo Flamini talk about it a lot. And I think, we have this notion that, you can't have a plan B. And I don't like using plan A and plan B. I like you have one major plan, like one goal, but then you have another goal on the side that's kind of in line, in parallel. I see you do coaching on the side as well.
Yeah.
I do it as well.
Yeah.
And I was talking with a friend the other day, and now I'm back. I'm playing. I'm in the starting 11, playing minutes. But I was injured before. I was injured for 8-9 months, and we both know you could get down. But like when you have something else, on the side that is motivating you and you're helping others, younger people and others, maybe not even in football, I think that can continue to push you along. And I think today's day and age, the culture is kind of shifting. Like the older culture said, you only need to focus on football, but hopefully we're shifting towards more modern, growth.
Yeah, I think so. So for you, would you say your other kind of passion is in the coaching? Is that how you switch off from, just football?
Yeah. I mean, ever since I was like 15, man, I just loved, coaching. I loved just seeing whether it's a transformation, physically, mentally, on the ball. I just always loved like helping others and giving back. And my main goal is like, whether they're a footballer or whoever it is trying to change their life, I just fully believe, like you've said from the beginning, when you take control of your own development, then you just feel freedom, and I want to kind of put that onto others. And then another thing is I want to help others not make the same mistakes I made, whether it's in fitness, nutrition, or football. And then I want to help them with things that I did do well. So it's like kind of just trying to pass on that knowledge. How about yourself?
Yeah. And you can hear that in your voice that you're, really passionate about that. And I think it's special for people to find that. If you find something that you really love doing, it's amazing, because it takes that. Football can be really intense when you're playing at a young age, even when you're not getting paid for it. Even at a young age, it's competitive in academies. Maybe sometimes you don't play, you get injured, and it can be really frustrating. It can affect you mentally. It can put you down. But I think if you have something else on the side, or another interest, another passion, like don't be embarrassed about it. Don't hide it. Don't think you're not allowed to do it. Invest in it, because as you said, it's changing. That football is changing, and top players, like you said, Hector Bellerin, have got other interests, other kind of ventures that they pursue. Current example would be Marcus Rashford. He does a lot of kind of charitable stuff on the side. And it goes to show, maybe before people would say, listen, you can only be a football player. You have to focus on that. And if you did anything else, it was like, what are they doing? Why are they doing that? What is he doing that for? Whereas now I think it's embraced, and I think it gives you a better grounding. It gives you a better perspective. So when football's not going well, at least you don't think, it's not the end of the world, because you can come home, you can switch off, you can go into that other passion or hobby or interest that you have, and really focus on it. So I think
Exactly.
I think it's important to have, not put all your, it's an old saying, all your eggs in one basket. Have
Yeah.
other interests and stuff going
Mm,
on in your life.
for sure. No, that's great points. And, I think everyone always talk, I mean, me included, I always talk about consistency and persistence and working
Mm,
hard and staying on the path. But like you said, like if you just have one venture and, whether you didn't have a good training, you didn't have a good match,
yeah,
you know, some players, they like to analyze the match right away and then get it over with. But like you said, if you don't have another venture, if you don't have another interest, you might be thinking about it all the time. And
exactly.
I think something big is like when you get into other interests, I think open mindedness is huge. Like when you open
Yeah,
your mind to other possibilities, you read books, you listen to podcasts, not
yeah,
even just in the football world, in other areas of personal development, you improve when you get on the pitch.
yeah, for sure. And that's just experiences. I mean, for example, yourself, you obviously you were open minded, open to the idea of leaving, the States and moving abroad, and that takes a lot of courage. But that's just being open minded. You've gained loads of experience from that. So I think for players, like wherever they're from, don't think they're stuck maybe in their town or in their city or in their
Yes.
country or in what they're doing. They should take a step back and see that there's so many opportunities for them, and they can obviously hear your story and get inspiration from that, and listen to this as well. We talk about doing other things. I think it's really important to not narrow your life down or your decisions down into one kind of area or one tunnel, one channel. Have
Mm,
options, and always
mm,
realize that even if you are completely fully focused on football and that's all you think about, and maybe it doesn't work out, maybe it does work out, but if it doesn't work out, it's still not the worst thing in the world. You just shift and you move on to the next thing.
exactly. Exactly. No, those are some great points, man. I think also, nowadays, I mean, always we have the notion of, when we get on the pitch, uh, you know, it's you have the butterflies,
Oh yeah,
you have a little bit of
nerves.
nerves. Yeah, exactly.
It's
But
natural.
yeah, exactly. But you probably get the same messages that I do in terms of like, oh yeah, I train so well when I'm just in training, team training or
Yeah,
individual training. My technique is so good. But once I get on the pitch, everything just falls by the wayside. And obviously this is a psychological standpoint. But I think even just what you just mentioned, like, and what we've been talking about for the past couple minutes is football is everything, but it's also not everything.
yeah,
Like I, I posted something, perfect example is Christian Eriksen. I posted
yeah,
something when that happened. I posted something the other day like life is the most important, and I got some
yeah,
pushback like, oh, football is everything. That yada yada yada, and I understand where these guys and girls are coming from, but I think there's a difference between an obsession and just something that just you're completely always wrapped up on. And I
yeah,
think when we take a little bit of that pressure off when you get
yeah,
onto the pitch, you're not worried about always being perfect. And I think that's the biggest thing. Like, oh, what if I make a mistake? What's my other coach going to think? What's
yeah.
the other players going to think? And if you just approach the game with like, you know, we're both guys who are big on planning, big on structure, like you
Hmm.
said. But if you come into the game with a little bit of, that's why I tried to bring in the beginning of the conversation, finding the love. Because I always
Yeah,
ask guys and girls when they're 18, 19, telling me they have trouble on the pitch. I say, what would your 10-year-old self say? You'd go out
mhm,
and you'd enjoy the game. And if you make a
yeah,
mistake, it's not the end of the world. And I think,
yeah,
that's a big part of it.
yeah, yeah. Because I think what one thing for me that I always say to myself sometimes, because naturally you get nerves, and I
Of
don't believe
course.
any player who says I don't get nervous. They're
Exactly.
lying to you, right? They're lying to you.
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
the one thing I say to myself is, if I make a mistake here, if I lose the ball, if I do a bad pass, a bad shot, bad cross, whatever, what is the worst thing that could happen? And
Yes.
the thing is, the worst thing that could happen is not that bad. I'll still be alive after the game. I'll still be
Exactly.
healthy. I'll still be fit.
Yeah.
The worst thing
Love
is
that.
maybe you make a mistake. Maybe you lose a goal. But if you really think about it, that's not that bad. That's not that bad
Yep.
because football it's ever changing.
Exactly.
Before you know it, it'll be the next game, the next training session, the next opportunity. And I think it's easy to put pressure on yourself and worry like, oh no, if I make this mistake, my teammates or
Exactly.
the coach. But
Mm-hmm.
I think if you remove that and you say to yourself, what is the worst thing that could happen here? And then you realise that it's not that bad. And I think when you start to think like that, it removes the pressure, and then you end up training, with your good technique, your everything that's good in there, because you put less pressure on yourself. You end up bringing that into the game because you've just put less pressure on yourself. And one of my favourite coaches I had when I first started playing like first team football, he just simplified it. He simplified it in the changing room before the game. He would say, listen, this is just a football match. It's just a football match. You're going to go home at the end of the day, back to your family, back to your whatever it is. You're going to go back. Life's going to move on. So just treat it like that. You're coming in here, give everything you've got on the pitch. If it doesn't work out, but you've given everything, you've done everything you can, then listen, it's a bad day. You go home, you go to sleep, you wake up, and tomorrow is a new day to start again.
Yeah. No, I love that. And like you said, it's simple. And I think, football teaches us so much about life. It's like, so for example, you make a mistake on the pitch, it leads to a goal. So what do? You go back home and you analyze the game. What could you have done better? Should you have been in a different space to receive the ball, depending on how you lost the ball? So you learn from that mistake. And instead of calling it a failure, you learn from the mistake and you move on.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing, it's the same thing in real life, in life. We make a mistake, we learn from it, and we move on.
Yeah.
So like you said, I think, always trying to find, I think it's about perspective, always trying to find the good in always trying to find the good in everything. And I like what you said.
Because no matter what, Eric, if you make a mistake, you can learn from that mistake. You can see it as a negative, and you can feel bad about it. You can be annoyed at yourself. Like don't get me wrong. What I'm saying is don't try and forget about it or pretend it didn't happen. You need to accept that maybe you have made a mistake. And as you said, you go home, you analyze it, you feel angry, you feel annoyed, maybe a bit emotional. It's fine to feel like that. That's normal, natural, and you should feel those things. That means you care. I think that shows that you really care and that you have high standards.
Exactly.
But don't let it play on your mind all week. Think about it that night. Maybe the next day you ever think about it. You watch it back maybe, or you talk to someone who was watching the game and you say, what should I have done here? And then that way you get it out, you get it off your chest, you clear it, and then you move on. That's what I think.
No, I love that.
Tell me what was what was your injury, Eric? What was the injury you had?
I had a sports hernia.
Hernia. 8 or 9 months.
Yeah, not a.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a tough one, man. It was a tough. Yeah,
well, I had similar. I had ACL for 12 months. I had ACL injury. I had 2 operations, 12 months. Which is again is something I get messaged about often. Is I've injured this, I've injured that. What should I do?
Like that.
And what one thing I would say, you've probably got your own thoughts on it as well, is rather than thinking about what you can't do, think about what you can do. There's so much you can do.
Love that. And also, it's a great point. I like you said, you sit down and you think about what you can work on, what you can improve, and it's like being grateful for what you can do, not what you can't do, like you said. And you can work out your upper body, you can do game analysis, and also I think one thing that's huge is we have the common cliche sayings of trust the process and this and that, and these cliche sayings are a cliche saying for a reason. And really embracing that process. Like, as we both know, we wanted to get back from our injury right away and get back on the pitch. But through like when you first get out of surgery, man, like when you first can walk, it's like, wow, I just hit a milestone, and it's like, we never thought we would have been there, being healthy and playing. So embracing those little milestones and taking everything step by step, I think, is very big with an injury.
Yeah, for sure. And I think if you do that, if you embrace it, like for example, when I ruptured my ACL, when I got the ACL injury, you think it's the worst thing in the world. But over the 12 months, looking back now, so it was around 2 years ago, looking back now though, like I learned so much. I learned so much about my mindset and my body. And listen, I feel like we are saying everything here. Like you should look at everything positively, and everything's like try and flip the mindset, which is true. Like I did feel bad and stuff. You do get pretty down about it, but again, if you do have the perspective to say, listen, what can I get out of this experience? You might not even realize at the time. So during those 12 months, I probably didn't realize how much I was going to learn until I look back now, and I learned about my body and my mind and resilience and how to overcome challenges.
Yes. No, I love that. Yeah, when you're in it, when you're in the battle, it's like, wow, you just want to get out, you just want the results. But like you said, you look back and you just learn so much,
Yeah. And there's so much you can do. As you said, you can do upper body, you can look at your nutrition, and sometimes it might actually give a player some time to think about what they maybe weren't doing, and what they can do, what they can do more of. So I think being injured, it's tough, but you can learn a lot about your body and your mind.
For sure. Yeah, man. So let's go back to your journey. As you see, I like going on tangents. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
That's why I like free flowing. But yeah, so after 20, where'd you move after Celtic?
So after Celtic, so basically I hit the age of 20 years old, and it's around that age where you either are going to become part of the first team, a first team player, or you move on. That's what happens at academy football. As soon as you turn 18, so obviously you get your first contract at 16. A lot of players get them. There's probably a big squad of about 20, and then every season it's pretty much cut down. So you lose maybe like 5 players a season. So when I was 20, there was 3 players left that were my age who had, out of 20, there was 3 players left.
Wow.
And I think one of them, so one of the players was actually Kieran Tierney, Arsenal.
Wow.
Left back. So he obviously went into the first team there, and he thrived. He did really well. And the other 3 of us, there wasn't an opportunity there. Whether it be 1, maybe we weren't good enough. 2, there was someone already in the position that was doing really well. So I moved on, and I went from Celtic to Dundee United. They're another Scottish team. They're in the league below. So I went from a Premiership team down to a Championship team.
But also a historic club, right?
Oh yeah. A big club as well, yeah. So I signed a 2-year contract there. So that took me up until I was 22. But that was also the time where I got my ACL injury. So that was quite a tough period. But in that, I also had different experiences. Obviously, I didn't move as far away as you from where you're from, but I moved from Glasgow to Dundee, which it's not far. It's 2 hours, but you have to pack up, move over there because that's where you're going to be based. You move out, you've got to look for a flat or somewhere to stay, and you're more independent again, and you have to really look after yourself. And that's just another experience
for sure
that you learn from, another process that you go through. So I spent 2 years there. I didn't play a lot of football, partly because 12 months I was injured.
Yeah, no. First thing I want to ask is that's unreal that you 3 guys out of 20 and you were one of them. What did you notice the difference between you 3 guys and the 17 others? Did you notice a difference in how you approached training, how you took care of yourself off the pitch, those little details, because we're both into that. Did you notice that amongst the group?
Yeah. So by the age of 20, I think the only people that are left are the ones who are taking it. They're taking it seriously. They're taking their body seriously, their mind seriously. They're doing everything they can. So that's at the age where I think unless you're really, really, you're a special player, unless you're really gifted, and you do get those ones sometimes, you'll know the ones. Everyone knows the ones. Sometimes they'll be super talented, or they'll just be naturally fit. And those two types of people are lucky. Not everyone is like that. Some of us, like myself, you have to work hard, and you have to plan, and you have to prepare. But by that age, it was probably the players who were left were the ones who, looked after themselves completely, like full circle, full package.
Awesome. No, it's like you said, you got those guys that, they could go out, the night before a match and they perform, unbelievable. But guys like myself, man, I got to prepare 3 days before.
I'm the same. But what I would say as well is we touched on it closer to the beginning of the conversation, was when you turn 18 in the UK, obviously you can start to go out, you can go to nightclubs, you can drink, and that again is when you see probably quite a big drop off as well, because some players, they just love that. And they go all out, and they almost forget about the fact that they're footballers. But I think for I sometimes get messages as well saying, do you drink? Should I drink? Should I ever drink alcohol as a football player? And what I would say is, it's just about balancing things. You're not banned from drinking alcohol if you're a football player. Top football players drink alcohol, but it's just about being smart about it. And if you drink, which is common in the UK to binge drink, drink a lot of booze. If you do that every weekend, you're not gonna perform. Maybe you'll get away with it for maybe a couple of months, but if you do it consistently, it's not the best thing you can do for your body. So your body's not going to thank you for it. But I think every once in a while, it's linked to switching off. You have to switch off from football, and sometimes that is going out and enjoying yourself. What do you think?
Dude, I love that you brought up this topic. I haven't really talked about this much on I posted once about it. I posted something like, I think a month ago, with like Rio Ferdinand drinking a glass of wine, and then some tips about the healthiest alcohols. Yeah. And I got some pushback, and it's reasonable. But like you said, I think balance is huge. And I learned it from my own experience, the study of the body. And like you said, man, I think you got to find the right balance. And I joke with my friends about it sometimes, and even my clients, it's like, you got to periodize those nights. You got to periodize them. So, because
for example, sometimes it will be the weekend, and one of my friends will say, come on, just come out, just have a beer. And I'll say, I can't. And they're like, what do you mean? Why not? And it's just because you can't, unless you are in the football environment. If you've never played football really seriously, then you probably don't really get it or understand. I don't know about you, but for myself, if I drink at the weekend, it probably sets me off a little bit for maybe a couple of days. You don't feel quite right, and I don't enjoy that feeling. So that's why I try and limit, consuming alcohol. And I think it goes for anyone, even if you aren't an athlete. It throws you off for a few days,
For sure. No, and I love the point. And just to touch upon, I think it's like with everything, I think it's moderation. So just to give people like a practical example, if you're training hard during the week, you have a match on a Saturday, you get the 3 points, you have a good match, go out, enjoy yourself, and you got Sunday off, go out, enjoy yourself. I'm not saying go out and get absolutely smashed. Yeah. Maybe you do have to have those. Maybe you do have to have those times to learn the feeling of how bad it is. But for me right now, 26-year-old, old man now, but I could only handle two, 3 drinks, man. And 2, 3 drinks, I'm chilling, I'm enjoying myself, having a good time. But that doesn't kill my next day. I'm going out and just like a practical example. The main reason that I got the hernia surgery is when I first went out to Germany when I was 19. And this is why I try to, like I said in the beginning of the conversation, I want to try to teach young people not to do the same things that I did. When I first went out to Germany, you've probably met a lot of crazy Americans, the mindset we have working hard. So bringing it into Europe, man, like I thought, all right, I'm going to Germany. I think I was 20 years old. I'm training 8 hours a day, just going to train. I'm not going out. And I literally did it, man. 10 months. I was literally training 3 sessions a day for 7, 8 hours, 6 days a week. And dude, after those 10 months, I was shocked, man. Like I wasn't, and I think something that we should also bring up is happiness. So, what brings me joy is progress, right? So like progressing, with your body and your football and your relationships. But you can't also completely isolate yourself, which we've learned from what's gone on in the world today. You gotta have, you gotta have good friends. You gotta have relationships, relationships with girls. It's all part of it. We're all humans, and I think those emotions, like if you're happy off the field, you'll be happy. You'll be happy on the field, and that's when you play your best football. Like I'm so all about like being dialed in. But some days, enjoy yourself. Have a couple of drinks. Go out. Have a nice pizza, and then boom, you're back on track the next day. You know?
Yeah, 100%. What you said there is so true, and I live my life the same way, and I believe it as well. If you have that balance and you don't just completely isolate yourself into this football bubble, if you have good connections, good relationships, off the pitch, you have that balanced lifestyle. You allow yourself to go out and have a pizza, have a few beers, have a big dessert. Like it's not going to ruin you or kill you. It's going to actually give you balance and make you feel more level generally. And as you said, when you feel like that, you perform better on the pitch. 100%. And as you said as well, back to the alcohol thing. I think people are young players as well. Like they should know they don't have to keep up with their friends, or sometimes you do have these big nights out. Whether it be with the team or maybe because you're young and you're experimenting and you're learning. Yeah. But I think it's good to know that you can actually go out and have 1, 2, 3, 4 drinks and still have a good time and still feel okay the next day. You still feel okay. You'll still be fine. You have not ruined your progress or anything like that.
100%. No, I love that. And I always try to emphasize the point when it comes to nutrition, consistency over rigidity. I'm big on the 80-20, the 90-10 rule, depending on your goal, but it's, you can't be perfect all the time. And when you strive for perfection, that boxed mindset, going back to the open-mindedness, that boxed mindset, it keeps you from really enjoying. And sometimes I like to say, go out and like, especially, when we're traveling, go out, enjoy the culture's food, and I think also, like you said, a big thing, is connection, relationships with humans. That's everything. Going out, enjoying a meal with friends, knowing that and I think it's like kind of a reward, knowing you put in the work during the week and you can just enjoy yourself and lay off.
Yeah, exactly. Because if you make smart choices, if you work hard, you almost like when it does come to the night out or the day out, whatever it is, you don't feel guilty. You know that you can afford to have a drink or have whatever you want. But it goes back to the point at the beginning that football is just football. Everyone has that. You have to enjoy your life. Outside that, you have to enjoy your life. That's really important. You have to have the perspective to remember that it's not just football. You have to have eyes down and enjoy your life and have all these interests and balance. Just generally, I think.
No, and going back to that point, I also wanted to cover something that you said that I like. I like that you said that there's a couple options. One of you have training in the morning. Or you have off. So, for example, one of your boys asks you to go out to the bars, and you tell them no, like, no, I got training in the morning. And something that I also see that's common is like, and it's a reasonable statement. What if my boy always asks me to go out and I'm constantly saying, I have training? And when I get those messages, I say, if your boy is truly your boy, he'll respect that. And if not, it's a good weeder. It's a good weed out.
Yeah, so, you're right.
what would your advice be to guys and girls who, get asked, to be in those situations, you know, how
Yeah.
to kind of handle that.
I like that saying. It's a good weed out.
Yeah, it is.
I've never heard that before, but it's true.
Yeah.
It's a good one. As you said, if someone is truly a good friend, if they're a good friend or a good family member, they'll understand and they'll support you when you do that. But listen, even my friends, I've got a good group of friends, and they'll try and convince me. They'll say, "Listen, Sam, come on, just come out with us, just have a beer," and I'll say, "No," and they'll keep pushing. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, if I stay strong and I say no, they respect that. They respect
Exactly.
that. You know, they understand why I'm doing it. They don't get annoyed. They don't make me feel bad.
Yeah.
So maybe if the group that you're surrounding yourself with are making you feel bad and guilty and really pressuring you, maybe you have to reassess like who you're actually mixing with.
Yeah.
Um, that that's what that's what I would probably say.
No. Yeah. No one's probably felt that UK banter, that UK pressure, you know?
You know, the pressure, especially I think maybe Scotland even more so. There's a
Yeah.
big I think there's a big, especially in younger people, there's a big kind of binge drinking culture, and I think drinking alcohol starts at a young age. Like, I think it's obviously illegal, but 15, 16 people will try and um, get their hands on alcohol, young kids, and then there's a lot of peer
Mm,
pressure from friends and stuff.
exactly.
But I think you just have to be responsible and listen. Sometimes, as we said
Exactly.
at the beginning, you learn from your mistakes. So there's
Exactly.
been nights where I've drank way too much.
Same.
You know,
Same. Hey.
I've been so ill, and it happens. It happens.
Yeah.
But you just learn, and I don't ever do what I used to do. Like when I
Oh,
was
same.
18, 19, I don't drink the way I used to drink when I was 18, 19
Of course.
because I think I'm too old as well. 23 years old. It starts to hit you different.
Oh, dude, you can't handle it, and it's like, you know, you start to get to the point where it's like you just don't like, it's just not enjoyable, you know.
Yeah.
You're KO'd for the next day, and it's like, you know, oh
Or
man,
on the same night.
facts. Oh man, I love it, bro. But
So
yeah,
tell
so
me, Eric, I'm interested to know like what one thing I've always wondered myself, and it's probably a bit of a fear of the unknown is having the, you know, the bravery to go and travel abroad and play in Europe and stuff like.
mhm.
But did you have fears when you before you left, obviously, and
Yeah, of course. I mean, you know, I actually just did a podcast with a couple of friends that lasted like 2.5 hours about my journey, which was
mm,
enjoyable. But yeah, of course, man. Like I told the story, and I always tell it, like when I was 14, I think my parents like forced me to go to, and I talked about parents not forcing, but this actually made me learn. They
yeah,
forced me to go to like a football camp, you know, a sleepover camp for 2 weeks. And I had never been away from home before, like
mhm,
alone. And man, like I think like the first 3 nights I was crying, like, you know, asking my parents to learning, and enjoyed it. And then I think that kind of prepared me for the whole journey. Like basically, I only did 1 year of college, played, you know, Division 1 in the US, which is not the greatest
yeah,
football unless you're in the top 10 there.
mhm,
And man, just like we talked about before, like the thing with me when I was younger, man, I was a clown. Like when I was 19, 20, man, I was a clown, dude. Like
yeah,
I like making people laugh. I like having a good time, enjoying it.
yeah,
And when I get, you know, that's why I think environment's big. Like when I get into an environment where it's like it's a party culture, like guys were going out 3-4 days a week, you know, and we would have
yeah,
training the next day. And you know, it was supposedly like a Division 1 school, and I was like, what am
yeah,
I doing, man? Like where am I at, you know?
yeah.
And man, like once I get involved in that party culture, man, that stuff sucks me in, bro. So
It's sucked in, but it's true. It's easy. You know what? Your environment definitely shapes you. You
for
know, it's
sure.
hard. It's extremely difficult. If you want to live a certain way, make sure your environment is you know shaped around that, because
For
it's
sure.
too easy. And listen, there's nothing wrong with getting involved in that, you know, party
Exactly.
culture for a bit and going out, because you learn a lot as well. I mean, that's just part of growing up. Everyone goes through that phase, I think.
100%. No, and it's funny because we look now, and a lot of my friends and, you know, my ex-girlfriend always like, you know, rips on me that like I'm a completely different person, but it's like I still have the banter in me. I still enjoy it, but I do it in a responsible way, you know? So, you know, now and part of the traveling, why I'm so grateful for what I've done is I've met great people, you know, talking to guys like yourself, other people, and you're more relatable. And I think, you know, what's the common saying? Like when you're younger, you bring the ball everywhere, but when you're older, the ball brings you places. And it's like, you really start to, you know, embrace culture and learn how different cultures behave. And it's been a great experience. But yeah, you know, your question, like, of course I had fear, man, but I'm just the type of guy that I've always been the guy where like 99 will go this way and I'm the one that goes the other way. I've just always been that type of guy. I don't know where that comes from, but I enjoy challenges, and I'm sure you're absolutely the same. You want to get out of your comfort zone. And
exactly.
like you said, like a lot of, especially in the colleges in America, man, like it's just like the movies, man. Like you're in a bubble, there's so many, you know, good friends, a lot of girls. You're just so like getting out of there, you know, having that experience that one year.
Exactly.
I'm grateful for. I'm grateful for, but it's like this isn't what I want, so I got out. You know.
Yeah. No, I think it's interesting to hear, because I get messages as well from young players asking if they should go to, because a lot of the players in the UK and Scotland head over to the States to play or to do scholarships, and quite often I get questions saying, should I go? Is it a good idea? And the thing is, I don't have the answer. I don't have the answer for that. I know it's a good. You can make it good. You make it what it is. Like you decide what you get from it. And as you said, listen, who knows where you would be if you hadn't moved abroad and gained all this knowledge and experience. So I would say to anyone who is growing up, who maybe wants to go abroad to Europe or to the States, like just do it, because as you said, you might only do 1 year, but you still learn a lot in that 1 year. And think about how you would feel if you never did it. You'd always have that, you know, 100%. Question going on in the back of your head.
No, and also like you talk about, you even talked about it, you know, one football game isn't the end of the world, but also, you know, 1 year of your life isn't the end of the world. Go out, try it. If you don't like it, you can go back, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
And I think you just learn so much through the experience, just like the injury. Through every experience you learn.
Yeah. I think it's definitely a recurring theme in this conversation, that it's everything in life, football, outside of football, is experiences, and the more you have, the more you learn. So don't be feared or scared to, you know, take a bit of a risk or take that kind of leap, because you'll learn so much.
100%. Yeah. So if you could just take us, you know, where you're at now. So after Dundee United, and I appreciate your humbleness, man, asking me questions about myself. As a podcast about you.
Oh, it's interesting.
I appreciate it. Yeah, no, you're a good man. So if you could just take us where you're at now, what you're doing, also coaching.
Yeah. Sorry, I think I lost you a little bit there. So yeah, right now. I went from Dundee United to Dumbarton. So Dumbarton are the division below. And actually, interestingly, so Celtic and Dundee United was full-time football. So you train every single day, kind of thing. It's like your full-time job. Whereas when you drop to Division 3, Division 4 in Scotland, it becomes part-time. So it's still classed as professional football, but you don't train every single day. You only train twice a week and then play at the weekend. So right now, so I went to Dumbarton, and then I left Dumbarton in summer to go to Airdrie, who are in the same division, just a different club, because sometimes I wanted a kind of change of environment. So I wanted to change. I've been at Dumbarton for a year. I wanted to try something different. So basically, I'm in Division 3 in Scotland, playing part-time football, which again is very different from full-time, because you have to be even more independent. You have to be even more independent, and you have to look after yourself even more, because the club aren't looking after you, every day. You have to do quite a lot yourself. And on top of that, really in the last 2 years, similar to yourself, I realised that I've learned so much from my journey so far, that I wanted to kind of share it with young players and athletes, and And when I started to do that, I started to realize that I actually love it as well. That's my kind of passion and interest off the football pitch, because I was so obsessed and love learning about the game, and the body and the mind. Through my years at Celtic, through that education, I absorbed so much. So now I just enjoy sharing it, because you get the same questions all the time on social media and stuff, and it's just amazing that there are so many players who could really take a lot from the stuff that guys like myself and you have learned.
Of course.
So that's basically where I'm at right now. I play for Airdrie and I do some coaching as well.
Awesome. No, and I think, like you said, I think a big theme of this conversation is being a student of the game, being a student of life, and trying to absorb everything, from the experiences, from the things you learn theoretically, whether it's a book, podcast, whether you're in school, and trying to apply it, and then, pass it along to the younger generation.
Exactly.
But yeah, man. Wow, it's been a great conversation. I appreciate you taking the time. So a couple last questions. Where do you see yourself in the next couple of years? You looking to plan ahead, or do you take? How do you look at that?
So it's a good question. It's a good question. And when I was younger,
honestly don't like asking the question too much, man, because when people ask me, I always just say I take it day by day, because you have these aspirations. You have these aspirations, but it's like,
So one thing I would say is, when I was 16, 17, 18, I had a book, a notebook where I would write down, what I wanted to achieve that season, what I wanted to achieve that year, how many games I wanted to play, where I wanted to play. And I realized that every year I was writing down maybe 3, 4, 5 things, and I was reaching some of them. But a lot of the time it's out of your control, because you can't decide how many games you play, because injury, team selection, that sort of thing. So I've kind of transitioned my goals away from. So I used to write down a lot of things that I couldn't control, which is how many games I play, where I want to play, to things that are more in my control. Like how fit I am, how I feel mentally, how I feel physically. So I've got more kind of like internal goals that I know I can. It's only down to me in terms of achieving them. So before I would often write, I want to play in this division, I want to play here, I want to play this many games. Whereas now I've transitioned into more. I want to, look after myself in this sense. I want to feel this mentally, and generally striving towards those probably gives you more satisfaction, because you can control it. But in terms of football, I would say right now I take it season by season. I look after myself. I have shorter term goals and less goals that are out of my control, more goals that I can control. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I love it.
Yeah.
If you could just take us through like a typical day in the life right now, let's say on like a Tuesday or a Wednesday, how does your day look like?
Yeah. So right now with the team I'm at, we train Tuesday and Thursday, then play on Saturday. So for example, Tuesday, this is typically how I would do a Tuesday. I would probably wake up at 7 a.m. I like getting up early. Some people getting up like staying up late, but I like going to bed early and getting up early. So I get up early, 7 a.m. I usually head straight to the gym. So I'll tell you what, I'll break it right down. So I have a morning routine. So I wake up, I do a little bit of reading, I have a coffee. I tried to start some meditation recently, but it's not quite catching. It's not quite catching. So right now I read for maybe half an hour, I have a coffee, and then I head to the gym. And because it's a training day, I've got training at night, I take it quite light. I maybe do some upper body, I maybe do some mobility, and then I head to the pool. So I go, swimming low impact cardio, 15, 20 minutes, 25 minutes. Leave the pool, come home, have a breakfast, and I then do basically a bit of work. I do coaching in the morning up until lunch, and then sometimes coaching in the afternoon. Depends. It just depends how the day's looking. And then I start to get ready for training around 4:30, 5 p.m. I have a kind of light meal. Usually a kind of dinner, but it's quite light. And then I would do some stretching and stuff in the house, then head to training for 6 p.m. And at training, again, foam roller, basically just mobilize the body, nothing too, nothing, you don't hold any stretches for any length of time, but just a kind of bit of activation to get myself ready for the session. Out to train 6:30 to probably 8 p.m. Come in, get showered, have some food. The club give you food for afterwards, and then head home. Try and get to sleep for 10 to 11 p.m. between that.
Awesome.
So that's a day in the life.
Sounds good, man. Sounds like a typical footballer day in the life.
That's it. Yeah. Nothing crazy. A simple life.
Exactly, man. That's what we strive for. Two last questions. You say you're reading stuff. What are 2 books that you recommend our listeners or our viewers?
So 2 books that I would recommend. One that I really liked was Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl.
I need to read that, man. I've heard so many good things, man.
It's really good. It's really, really good. It kind of it really gives you good perspective as well. And to be honest with you, the thing is, some books are good for some people, some books are not so good. But for me, I really related to it. So it's not a long book, so it's worth reading. You can get through it pretty quick. There's 2 that I would say as well are really good. So Tony Robbins, Awaken the Giant Within. It's quite a big one. It's quite a long read. I think it's quite slow.
He's the man,
but also he's good. Have you read the book?
No, but I've listened to him, like all his lectures and a lot of his YouTube stuff, his audio. Yeah. I've listened to a couple of his audio books as well.
Yeah, he's a powerful speaker, isn't he?
Oh, legend, man.
Yeah. And the other one I would say is really good is the Chimp Paradox. Have you heard of that?
No, man. You're giving me some recommendations, man.
No, so the Chimp Paradox is really good. And have you hit Brendan Rodgers, the old Celtic manager? Yes. He's now Leicester. Yeah. So when he was at Celtic, I remember I had a discussion with him. Just as I was leaving the club, and we'd had some meetings before, and he kept saying these things, and I was like, I've heard these things before. Where have I heard these before? And I was like, it's the book. So I had an individual meeting with him, a one-to-one meeting with him, and I said, Brett, I said Gaffer because it was the manager. I said, have you read the Chimp Paradox? And he said, yes, it's my Bible. So the Chimp Paradox is his Bible.
I gotta write that down, man.
There we go. Take note of that one. That's good. That's quite a good book. Those are some good ones.
Absolutely. And then the last thing, what is one thing that a coach told you that has, really helped you, stuck with you till today, and has really helped you throughout your journey?
It's a good question. I just
made it up on the spot, man. So
it's a good question.
Before.
Yeah, I think for me, there's you have so many coaches growing up that you learn a lot from. But one of the main things is, it probably wasn't something that was said to me directly, but from working with the coaches at clubs like Celtic and Dundee United, they all have really high standards. So they keep their standards really high in terms of everything they do. So no matter what kind of profession they were in, maybe it was the nutritionist or the physio or the coach or they worked really hard. They left no stone unturned. They had really high standards. And that rubs off onto the players, and it means you have high standards. And I think when you have high standards on the pitch, if you have high standards off the pitch, it gives you a really good opportunity. So for me, high standards, maintain high standards in everything in life that you do.
Yeah. No, and I think also just act like a professional. I always like to tell younger guys, even if you're not a professional right now, act like one, treat yourself like one, and you'll manifest it.
Exactly. Yeah, 100%. And I think as well, an important point you said was never stop being the student. Never stop being the student.
Yep. I appreciate you, Sam. We gotta, catch up one time, throw back some beers, chill out. You're a good man.
Yes,
appreciate you coming on the pod, bro.
Pleasure, Eric. It's been great. Thank you.
Where can people find you? Give a little shameless plug.
So Instagram is the best. Sam Wardrop. I think my username is Sam Wardrop 97. That's the best place to find me.
Sounds good. I'll put it all in the description. Yeah, man, I appreciate you. Enjoy your Friday and stay safe and healthy, brother.
Thank you, mate. Thank you. Take
All
care.
right, man. Peace out.